Okay, so we're going to paint the owl in a light gray. Gray in real life in the world is almost never just black and white. So I'm actually going to add a little bit of a pinky purple. So it works well with this. You're not going to see a lot of it. It's going to be very minuscule. In fact, I shall show you how minuscule. I'm just going to take some of it on the tip of my brush. I have my trusty towel over here. I'm going to just roll my brush and then kind of even squiggle it on there. I don't want a lot of paint on my brush. And I'm going to show you how light that is, that it's going to start showing up. And so I'm just going to put highlights on the bark. And you can see why I clean most of the paint off, because that way I can get just kind of a scrubby, sort of a light highlight here and there. All right, now we're switching to baby bear. So I'm just going to start painting in. And I'm just going to paint them all one color. It's kind of like an underpainting. The first coat is just going to be all one color. This is mainly like a primer coat. So if you were painting a wall, you'd put primer on so all the colors don't kind of come through. So this the belly part, the chest, I'm just going to do like little taps. It's almost like you're texturing his little fuzzy fur. And one of the biggest challenges if you're trying to do hyperrealism is to make the ears and the eyes exactly the same as each other. Don't torture yourself and try and make it perfect. It's not a photograph, it's a painting. So next I'm going to do is eyeball color. I'm just going to take some, any yellow will do. This is like a medium yellow. No pun intended, but we really have to eyeball where you put that eyeball before you start the second one. So kind of eyeball where he starts in there, along there, and where he ends. You can even put a little tick where he would end. He would end about there. Oh, he's taking shape. So I'm going to do his little chest area, and I'm going to do those little, almost like 4 centimeter little strokes. Now again, because I got that nice gray underneath, I don't really have to concern myself with covering every square inch of the bird. I'm pushing a little hard and loading the brush a little more with these feathers because I want little lines of texture on his wings. So I'm loading often and I'm letting those little gloops of paint just exist and be there. Now, I do have to tell you, I'm typically not a realistic painter. You might say like, well, what are you doing teaching painting then? Well, some of the paintings I teach here on my channel are abstracts, and that is my first love. But I do like a challenge, and to me, realism is always a challenge. Just mixed a bit of black in with that green. So this time, our goal is not to cover the entire thing of green, but to augment and to make it look kind of hairy at the top. There we go. I just mixed a little more black in with it and a little more water so I could really paint these ears. And I do like that purpley gray that I had, so I'm going to pull some more back in because I don't want these ones quite as dark. As you can see though, the more layers of color you put on, like that black underneath, really makes it look cool. What I do is I mix a little more water in with that black. Now because it's mixed with water, it's a little bit transparent. I threw a little more of this pink into this end of my original gray that I used for the entire owl. Yeah, I didn't really plan exactly how I was going to do this bird, so that might show in my tutorials. They're not as planned as some other artists. And usually, to be honest, usually when I teach something real, I normally paint it first before I paint it to teach it. This time I decided, you know what? I've been painting for a long time. I don't have to always have a perfect tutorial. Just gonna put some extra little hair. He needs more hair in his chest. And I'm using kind of a dryish brush and a soft touch. And I'm liking how that's going. It's very much looking like hair, or I should say feathers. I had that problem last time I taught an owl. I was calling his feathers hair all the time. Using my technique of the really light touch. Up first. Really light touch. Look at those fine little hairs you can get. All right, now I want some pure white. And you're going to be like, what, pure white? Yes, pure white. I like that. I think I like it better when I stand back, but basically now you're seeing all the colors coming to life, which is actually what I really like when I paint. I like to use a lot of colors to really make it have a complexity, because in nature, colors are not simple, they're highly complex. Now, I really need some highlights on these lovely feathers. as much as I love his face and his chest, I think his face is going to have some highlights. Maybe they should have a little yellow. I'm going to use the medium yellow, just a touch of it, and just a bit of white to make it brighter and a bit more opaque. I'm going to put a little yellow in his wings too. Why not? This bird just has all different color of feathers. Cool how many different colors of feathers this bird has. He's awesome. So the moral of the story is you can put any damn color you like in the owl. Just do the colors one at a time and arrange them in interesting ways and be yourself. His beak is really not standing out as much as I'd like. I'm going to do orange. So for the light in the eye, I overload the very tip of Baby Bear with quite a bit of paint. And just put some kind of little doohickey in his eye. Doesn't have to be much. If it's too much, I just kind of tap it to take a little bit off. And I'm always adding more highlights. I'm going to add now a little bit of highlight to the side of the beak and a bit in the center. Needed a slight highlight in his belly. I think I'm going to call that done. Anyway, this painting was a hoot. You knew I was going to go there. No, I did have a lot of fun painting this painting, and I hope you did too. And I hope you painted along and didn't just watch. Hope you come back again soon, and don't forget to like and subscribe, because let me tell you, that helps so much. And comments are great. They're always welcome. I will answer every comment that you make. Bye. Thanks so much for hanging out with me in my studio. Feel free to connect with me in the comments or check out my social media sites below. And if you enjoyed this tutorial, show those like and subscribe buttons some love. See you next Tuesday.